So calisthenics can be incredibly complex. You can see around here, there are so many different types of equipment. You got rings, you got all these different types of exercises that you can do. And a lot of the time it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you don't need to complicate it that much. What I want to do is create a minimalist type routine that you guys can do at home, literally get it done in 30 minutes and do it 2 to 3 times a week and still reap all the benefits in terms of building lean muscle, building strength, building mobility, and progressing your way some of those more intermediate and advanced skills, which is obviously what we want to try and do. So all we're doing today is literally 6 exercises, and we're going to superset a little bit of it so we can breeze through it a little bit quickly. And as I said, honestly, the main part of the workout, you can breeze through in 30 minutes easy. So let's get stuck into that. So as I said, we're grouping together 6 exercises into 3 different supersets. And the first one we're going to do is a little bit more strength and skill focused. And we're going to be grouping together a planche and front lever. And for all of these exercises, by the way, all you need access to is any form of pull-up bar. You don't need anything else, literally just a pull-up bar. So we're sweet, keeping it very minimalist, as I said. So the first variation, as I said, we're doing a planche times front lever. We're gonna do 3 sets, and you're gonna pick the variation that you can handle for around a 4 to 7 second hold range for both of them. So it's very strength focused, and obviously you wanna try and make sure you have it with reasonably good form, but you also wanna be pushing at a hard intensity. So make sure you pick the right variation, and each session, each week, slowly progress through the variations as you start to build strength. So the planche progressions that you want to try and work through, we're starting in a planche lean. You can also do an assisted tuck planche, finally an actual tuck planche itself. Then you can start progressing to an advanced tuck over time. Then you can also do a hip flex straddle or an actual straddle planche itself. I also give you the option if you want to use bands, you're welcome to do that. Whether you want to do a banded, maybe tuck planche or even a banded straddle planche. Just making sure you're working in those 4 to 7 second hold ranges, super important. And also keeping the good form. Keep that scap protraction, keep those locked out elbows. Technique is very important here. So for the front lever, as I said, we obviously need a pull-up bar for this one. Don't need anything fancy, just any literal horizontal bar, and then you can do a front lever. What we have to make sure we're doing with all of the front lever progressions is simply making sure that our shoulder blades are neutral, not completely protracted. We're not protracted. You're bringing your shoulder blades back down into a neutral position. So that's completely neutral, not all the way back. That's the position, and you'll see my spine is nice and straight. You want to maintain that the whole time. The first progression, well, obviously, sorry, the next things you have to make sure you're doing is your elbows are completely locked out and your hips are in line with your shoulders. As long as you're ticking off those 3 things pretty much, spine straight, hips in line with shoulders, shoulder blades in the right position, elbows straight, you're going to get most of the progressions pretty much right. From there, you can use a banded tuck front lever, totally fine to use that. Then progress to a typical tucked front lever. Then you've got an advanced tucked, you've got a hip flex straddle, you have a straddle position, you have a half leg, and then you finally have that front lever, which is very exciting. You'll see here, the first variation, we're going to do a planche, jump down, get into that planche variations for 4 to 7 second holds. Drop down, jump up, find that pull-up bar, and find the variation that obviously you can handle and go for that 4 to 7 seconds. Whew. Take your 2 minutes of rest and you're doing another 2 sets of that. Super simple. Just making sure you understand the technique and you understand how to actually progress through it. Making sure you get those form requirements right. These are 2 very technical exercises. So moving on to the second superset now, and I have to make a quick disclaimer. My video editor would absolutely love this and be hammering me. It is 8 exercises. Don't know why I said 6. I knew it was 8, but we're doing 8 exercises, 4 lots of supersets, and we'll still get it done in 30 minutes, I promise. This one we're doing is a pull-up variation that you can obviously handle. You can absolutely use bands. You can even use weight, that's totally fine. And we'll be supersetting that pull-up with a press variation, which we'll talk on as well. So with a pull-up, what we're doing is a hollow body pull-up, and this is super important. We're not doing those bodybuilder pull-ups where we're flaring our elbows, fluttering the range, and just keeping constant tension of our rear delts and our upper back. What we're trying to do is build strength for calisthenics. So we're trying to keep our core compressed the whole time, our hips relatively forward, and we're trying to pull with our elbows tucked. And what that's going to do is obviously build a lot more core compression and overall pulling strength for exercises like muscle up and front levers. So making sure you're getting this technique right and you're not doing those bodybuilder pull-ups. We're calisthenics athletes here. Also, most importantly, please, you're starting from a dead hang and you're getting that chin over the bar. Absolute key requirement. I don't care what you do, they're the 2 things you have to make sure you're doing. And obviously with the progressions, we're working in that 4 to 6 rep range, right? So you want to be using the progression that you can handle. So start with a band, regress the bands down depending on where you are in that rep range. Slowly aim to be able to do it with the body weight. And then we're going to be doing side to side pull up, maybe progressing to archer pull up. And then you can also, if you want to instead going down the side to side and archer route, you can actually do weighted pull up. So I'm leaving that up to you guys. You choose the variation variation. I think they're all absolutely fantastic. So it's entirely up to you. Be smart about the progression and you're aiming to get around the rep range for a good level of intensity. Not to complete balls to wall failure, but very close to failure at a high intensity. Let's go into the press variation now. So the press variation you see on the previous one, we did a vertical pull. Obviously, here we're doing a vertical push. So what we want to start with, some of you may not have the strength for that vertical push, so we can start with kneeling push-ups. For the push-up variations, all I want to make sure that you're doing is your elbows stay fixed over your wrists and you're getting a full range of motion. Chest to ground, pressing back up. That's what I'm going to make sure you're doing. Hips not high, hips not too low, hips in the right position. Whether you're doing them kneeling or straight, that's the position. So the first progression is obviously kneeling push-ups, and then you're going to work toward bodyweight push-ups. If you're at that point there, what you can progress to now is piked push-up variations. And this is incredibly difficult. And if you watched my channel before, I absolutely hone in on this, but I'll give you a quick rundown. All you have to make sure you're doing is hands roughly around shoulder width. You can go a little bit wider. You want to work your hands and feet quite nice and high. Come onto your toes, get your hips nice and high. From there, your shoulders shift forward. That's the first motion. You're not going down. Shoulders forward, elbows fixed over wrists, forehead to floor, press back up onto that triangle position. Shift forward, nose to floor, press back up. The most important thing you're doing is keeping your elbows over your wrist. Just get that right and most of the movement's going to be pretty good. It fixes absolutely everything. So that's obviously that pike push-up variation. If that's quite difficult for you still, but push-ups are too easy, you can use a band. Absolutely use a band, or you can be a little bit more half pike. So you're not as deep into the pike and then progress to getting a little bit further. From there, elevate your feet up and then you can progress up to obviously getting to a little bit more of that 90-degree elevated position. And then finally, chest to wall handstand push-ups are a great variation. You need to make it shorter range. That's okay. Slowly reduce the range down until you're doing them normally. And then if you're at that level and you already got handstands, do handstand push-ups, absolutely whatever you want to do. Those progressions are absolutely limitless with that. All right, so let's do this one together. My back's a little bit sore from yesterday, so we're going to take it a little bit easier. Do your 4 to 6 reps of your hardest pull-up variation, going for a really good intensity. Keep pushing. Beautiful. Drop down and then go for that vertical press variation that you can actually handle. So let's do that together. I'm just showing off now, by the way, guys. And that 4 to 6 rep range, yep. And then obviously we'll do 2 more sets of that one. Take your full 3 minutes of rest, super important with the rest of this one. And if you can take more reps, all of these, to be honest with you, take as much rest as you can. Obviously we have to be practical. You guys want to get it done in 30 minutes and take a little bit less rest. But rest is obviously important to build strength. So at the very least, 2 minutes. Let's move to the next one. Super quick one, guys, before we jump into the next one. I do have a school community and I do coaching. If you guys need structure within your training, you want to have a personalized approach, get coaching feedback in terms of your actual skills to make sure you're doing it correctly and you're building that foundation properly to skyrocket your strength. Sus below if you do want that extra guidance. I do coaching, as I said, and there's a school community there too if you are interested. Otherwise, continue watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Moving on to that third superset, guys. So what we're doing now, you can tell in the first one, we've built up that push and pull skill. The second one, we built up that push and pull kind of strength focused foundation movement. Now we're moving into the core related stuff, which is obviously very important. So the first one we're going to be doing is an L-sit variation, doing 3 sets of these, 4 to 7 second hold, then supersetting it into a hanging leg raise, choosing the hardest variation for as many reps as you can. Aim for somewhere around 10. If you can get around 10, somewhere around that ball mark, go as hard as you can. So with that L-sit, I'm going to take my shoes off because it's going to be a little bit harder with the shoes on. You can do the same. And if you do have parallettes for these, or you can raise your hands up with a couple books, it does make it a little bit easier. First variation we're going to be doing is making sure we actually get the technique right. So you have to make sure with all these variations, your elbows are completely locked out. Try to get that elbow pit facing forward. So completely locked out. From there, push the shoulders down. So down and a little bit back, and then try to raise up from that position. If you can get into that end sit or even a single leg end sit for now, that's fantastic. For the progressions, making sure that you hold that technique in terms of upper body and core engagement, then you're starting to try and shift those legs further forward. So you can start with obviously an N sit, move into a single leg L sit, finally an L sit, and then you can try raise up into a V sit. So working through those progressions at the rate that you can handle for that 4 to 7 second hold range. You can really push the intensity in this one too. And then obviously with the hanging leg raises, super simple this one. There's just 3 different variations. And I want you, 4 different variations. And I want you to go as hard as you can handle. So first one, simple knee raises. Second one is when you're trying to lengthen the knees out a little bit more. Finally, completely straight. And then the final one is lifting up and doing a bit of a toe tap. What I want to make sure that you're doing in all of these ones is you have to make sure you're not using momentum. Because with momentum, if you're using momentum at the bottom, nothing is working here. This range of motion is super easy. So what do people do is they swing up because they're using momentum from the top and then barely any muscle. You have to keep it a slow tempo. Think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And keep your hips in line. I don't want to see no swigging shit. That's not calisthenics, that's CrossFit stuff. I'm not doing that shit. All right, so first one, I'm gonna do it on here only because I can. If you have access to any of this stuff, by all means, you're welcome to use it. But it's a minimalist video, so do whatever you want. So the first one, I'll sit, go for as hard as you can for that 4 to 7 seconds. Woo. And then obviously rip them out as much as you can with the hardest possible variation. I really do aim, like, try and get around 10 reps, really exhaust yourself for this one if you can. And then obviously after that, you're taking your full 2 minutes of rest. You can take a little bit more if you want to, as I've said. And then you do 2 more sets of that. Moving into that final exercise. So the final one here, we're doing a little bit more of an AMRAP to get a little bit more volume, a little bit more conditioning. And this is gonna be greater for that hypertrophy stuff now. First few are a little bit more strength focused. Now we're building a little bit more muscle here, which is exciting. So what we're doing is a superset variation of any form of push and then a chin-up variation. So with the pushes, we spoke on this briefly, but what you wanna do is obviously an AMRAP. You're entirely up to you which one you wanna choose. Aim for something around kind of like at least 8+ reps if you can. Is you're either doing it kneeling, we spoke about the form already, or you're doing a normal push-up, or if you have access to a chest dip, I welcome to you to obviously do a chest dip. You can even do straight bar chest dips off a pull-up bar as well. That's entirely up to you. But if you are going to do that chest dip, I want you to make sure you're doing this again with a hollow body. Same thing with the pull, how we're keeping our core compressed. You want to do the same thing with the chest dip. So you want to lock your elbows in of where your wrists are, and then you almost do an ab crunch down. See that? See how I'm not flaring? So that's like a typical bodybuilder type chest dip. You're starting from that fully locked out position, shoulders down, ab crunch down, come back up. Ab crunch down, come back out. Fully locking out those elbows. If you need it, if you're able to do this and you want to make it a little bit easier, you can use a band and do that as an AMRAP. Otherwise, go for the chest dip. Don't have a chest dip. You want to do push-ups, you want to make it a bit harder, you can do pike push-ups, elevator pike push-ups. This is entirely up to you. But as I said, try to aim for at least 8+ reps and go for as many as you can. We're building volume here. And then obviously the exact same thing with the chin-up. Some of you may not be able to do chin-ups, which is entirely fair enough. So what you can do is use a band, or you're more than welcome to do an inverted row or even negative chin-ups. Entirely up to you, but obviously making sure you're progressing each week to eventually doing body weight. And then from there, you're going for as many reps as possible with that chin-up. Making sure, same with your pull-up, you're starting from a complete dead hang and you're getting chin over the bar, controlling it back down. A lot more simple, the technique with chin-ups fantastically. Alrighty, so let's quickly go through that. I'm gonna do 100 push-ups right now because that's my AMRAP. 98, 99, yeah, 100. Whew. And then I'm gonna do, the same amount of chest chin-ups now. Making sure they're full range of motion, exhaust yourself. Honestly, it should be quite a tough exercise. Hopefully you can get through it pretty quickly, adjust the rest times as you need. But either way, this is such a fantastic way to go about it. I really do think you can build so much strength, so much muscle, so much skill in such a short time frame, as long as you're consistent and you're frequently doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And as I said, if you want a little bit more guidance, a little bit more structure, a bit more of a personalized approach, suss the link or the descriptions below. I've got coaching and a community with programs in there. It would absolutely skyrocket your strength. You get feedback in terms of your techniques. Super important for the start. Whew. Thanks for the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoy. Woohoo.